Rarely seen photos from the past that raise eyebrows today. Lovely actress Linda Carter in the early 1970s. Linda Carter, who was always a performer, didn't always want to be on the big screen. She wanted to be a singer from the beginning, but she didn't know how to go on stage with a band behind her. Her performing career took off when she was 21 years old and joined a beauty competition in Arizona. She could write her own check after being Miss World America in 1972. Carter traveled with a band for a time, but producers who discovered her during the pageant had other plans for her than advancing her music career. She began appearing in little parts on television and has never looked back. A man promoting himself during the Great Depression, 1930s. Even the most educated and hardworking individuals were unable to find even the most rudimentary of employment during the Great Depression. It wasn't that these individuals weren't looking for a job, it was just that there wasn't enough money to go around. From the top down, this decimated firms and people equally. That simply goes to show how awful things were when this proud veteran, with more talents than most people, couldn't find work. Several individuals had to move west to find employment as nomadic fruit and vegetable pickers, while others sought to stick it out wherever they could in the hope that things would improve. A man predicts the invention of cell phones in 1953. As much as it seems to be a hoax, this piece regarding the pervasiveness of telephones is quite genuine. It's enthralling. This April 11, 1953 Tacoma News Tribune story has an unusually accurate forecast regarding the future of mobile phone technology. Mark R. Sullivan, the author, observes that individuals will be surrounded by cell phones everywhere they go, unable to escape them even if they don't want to be among them. He says, of course, what shape the future telephone will take is sheer guesswork. Here's my prediction. In its ultimate form, the telephone will be carried about by the person, maybe in the same way that we wear a watch now. It will most likely not need a dial or comparable, and I believe users will be able to see each other while talking if they like. Who knows what will be translated from one tongue to another? Underage Phoebe Cates rocking a bikini in 1982. If you only remember one moment from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, it's the one in which Phoebe Cates emerges from the pool in a bikini. Every adolescent who saw that was profoundly affected. Although many actors are hesitant to do naked sequences, Cates says she wasn't concerned about how her work would be viewed. She elaborated, "When I performed my naked sequences in Paradise, I was just 17 years old. They were more severe and tougher to justify because they were not readily justified. Yet the topless moment in Fast Times at Ridgemont High was amusing, so it was simple." All 10 of the Lysenko brothers fought in World War II, and they all survived. Here they are at a reunion in 1982. Following Pearl Harbor, when America was asked to send its armed troops to the Eastern Hemisphere to join the forces with the Allies, men from almost every household in North America enlisted to protect freedom. Several soldiers did not return from their assignments, whether in Germany, Japan, or anywhere in between. This makes it all the more impressive that 10 brothers were able to enroll and endure the hardship that took the lives of so many others. Were they just a fortunate family? Or were the Lysenkos just at the right place at the right time? Whatever happened during their service in the military, the Lysenko family must have been overjoyed to see its 10 patriarchs return. Supermodel Christie Brinkley, 1978. Christie Brinkley was spotted in line at the post office, believe it or not. That's exactly, you never know what's going to happen when you're waiting for the people who look after us to come rain, sleet, or snow. She was sending out some mail in 1972 when a photographer approached her and requested a photo of her. The amateur spread ended up bringing her more employment than she could have imagined. She went on to become the cover model for 3 Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues covers in a row, and she had 2 calendars devoted to her body. She's no longer a model, but she'll always be our favorite. Conrad Veidt, the original inspiration for the Joker, from the 1928 film The Man Who Laughs. This is not a still from a new Batman picture, rather it's a promotional shot from the silent film The Man Who Laughs. The film, directed by Paul Lenny, is a German expressionist film that's so distressing that it's sometimes classified as horror picture rather than the drama that it is. Conrad Veidt, the film's actor, was so skillful at altering his appearance to match his character that he lost himself completely in his profession. Veidt plays Gwynplaine, the headliner of a freak show at a traveling fun fair due to a constant smile imprinted over his face as a youngster. Veidt's appearance in the film is notable, not just for being terrifying, but also for influencing the overall look of the Joker. Even today, images of the Joker plainly owe a tribute to Veidt, right down to his haircut and scary smile. Ferris Tui, who fought in World War II, is holding a photo from 1944. That's him on the left holding a cup of coffee after one of many hellacious battles. It's incredible to see someone standing next to their younger self, particularly in a snapshot taken after an arduous fight. Ferris Tui is one of many men who volunteered to entrust their life to the United States military at the start of World War II. The photograph he's clutching was shot in the mess on board the USS Arthur Middleton during a 2-day battle for Engabi at Entawak Atoll. During the combat, the 22nd Marines' 1st and 2nd Battalions killed 736 Japanese troops and Korean workers. Just 19 people surrendered. Tui subsequently said he was a victim of friendly fire when US AAF planes attacked the Marines, but it's unknown what happened to the other guys in the photograph. A couple posed for a photo in 1963 and again in 2014 at the same location. It's nice to know that love can endure challenges, ups and downs, and whatever life throws at us in these uncertain times. Seeing a couple that's been together for longer than most people have been alive makes us feel like there's still a little brightness in the world. Consider the effort required to return to the exact area where you previously sat with your loved one and strike the same position. It's a way of saying that even though you've changed, your love remains the same. However, we'll all be fortunate enough to discover someone amazing, as well as a rock where we may pose. Photographed while serving in South Vietnam in 1965, Larry Wayne Chafin died 20 years later of complications related to his exposure to Agent Orange. This shot, taken by AP reporter Horst Foss on June 18, 1965, while stationed with the 173rd Airborne Brigade Battalion in Phuoc Vinh Airport in South Vietnam, sums up not just the Vietnam War, but the battles that before and followed it. Larry Wayne Chafin was a 19-year-old doing his bit for his nation at the time. Chafin only spent 1 year in the Marine Corps and, like many servicemen, struggled to adapt to life in the United States when he came home. Tragically, he died in 1985 from diabetic problems, which is thought he got after being exposed to Agent Orange. It's critical that we should not forget heroic guys like Chafin and the sacrifices they make for our nation. The Runways back in the 1970s. The Runways were one of those unique bands that could only exist for a limited time. Over the course of 5 years, these 5 young ladies joined together and put out some of the most deadly melodies, but the band eventually fell apart. Joan Jett, Lita Ford, and Mickey Steele were among the band's many talents, and it's no surprise that they became one of the most influential bands of all time. Nevertheless, according to Joan Jett, the trio simply disbanded because they wanted to pursue other things, not because they disliked each other. She told Metallica's Lars Ulrich, "I believe it began to diverge a little bit as we got older and figured out more about who we are as artists and what sort of music we wanted to create. We all got along perfectly, therefore there was no such thing. That it happened to do with personality. We just developed in various directions. I simply thought to myself, I don't want to get dismissed from a band I founded. Let's simply say goodbye." A young boy stands on a washtub while drinking by the kitchen sink in Kentucky in 1964. It's hard to believe this shot was taken in the 1960s. This youngster, sipping from the wash basin, seems to be from the 1930s or 20s, living in a coal mining family and maybe ready for a day of work. But knowing he's from the middle of the 20th century is unusual. This image depicts how devastating poverty can be. Families with little money and few amenities may live in the same age as others who have everything they could ever desire and more. Perhaps as he went into the following decade, this young guy was able to leave his hometown. An abandoned Gothic revival home built in the 1840s. This eerie mansion, suited for a member of the Addams family or the Munsters, is part of the long-standing heritage of Gothic revival architecture, which began in 1740. Humans have always been fascinated by Gothic architecture, so it's not surprising that the design style persisted until the 19th century. The Gothic revival style, which was inspired by medieval architecture, was most often utilized for rural buildings or modest townhouses. Since these homes are so strong, many of them are still standing today. Several of these mansions are so tall that ivy and vines crawl up their walls, making them seem more haunted than they are. Nevertheless, living in a mansion like this would be quite awesome. Muhammad Ali with a young fan in a Florida diner in 1970. It's difficult to imagine that anybody ever thought that Muhammad Ali was actually defeated. America turned against Ali when he became an outspoken civil rights advocate in the 1960s and changed his name to represent his new Islamic beliefs. When he refused to serve in the military during the Vietnam War, he was stripped of his boxing championship and barred from participating in the sport he loved, just for expressing his opinion. On October 26, 1970, Ali returned to the ring to fight boxer Jerry Quarry. Ali defeated the guy in 3 rounds and declared himself the king once again. This snapshot illustrates that many of Ali's younger supporters never abandoned him and that they recognized him as a great American hero, regardless of color. Here's a groovy Philco Predicta television from the late 1950s. Is the Philco Predicta a bit difficult to use? Does it seem to be difficult to watch with the whole family? Sure, but it also looks fantastic. The Predicta was created at a period when people were looking to the future as hopeful destination, and it was critical that our appliances reflect it. Philco television sets all have unique and memorable designs. These sets, known for their unique space-age aesthetics, were produced between 1958 and 1960 in 17 and 21-inch sizes. You were living in style if you possessed one of these bad boys in your living room or den. Hundreds of Predictas may still be found in pawn shops and secondhand markets today. Why not go out and get one to spice up your life a little bit?